today really is a bit of a discussion, really to do with interior design, and basically, if you want to be an interior designer, I'm sort of questioning why you want to be an interior designer. There's a really obvious thing for this, and I think in some ways that the question which I really wanted to ask is, if you really want to be an interior designer, do you actually know what that involves? And this is something which I have been answering to an awful lot of students over the past few years, and it's something which I feel quite passionately about, that they need to know exactly why they're going into it. Should they be going into it, and are there any other routes that they should be looking at just before they sort of settle down? Now, I know full well from my own experience that being an interior designer is not something that you necessarily chose a long time ago. So when I was at school, I didn't choose interior design. I didn't even want to choose interior design. I didn't know interior design. I didn't know anybody that actually did anything to do with interior design whatsoever. It didn't even it didn't even come up on my list. And I think really ordinarily I wouldn't necessarily have poo-pooed the idea, but I don't know necessarily whether I would have gone into it if I'd have known then what I know now. And I think this is probably one of the biggest things that kind of sort of comes up when I'm talking to an awful lot of students. And I think that they all think that it's one thing when really it's another. So that's really what I'm going to be talking about today. And I will make this into a YouTube video so you can see it at your leisure and skip past all the boring parts. So without further ado, I'm going to just whiz you over to other things. So obviously I've now moved. You'll be able to see sort of subscribers and latest subscribers up there, total subscribers up there. If you want to reach me at Corey, you can see that running along at the top of the screen. And here, $1 Million Decorators. I've got this ready because I knew I really kind of wanted to show you this, which needed to happen. But what I do have is, let's have a look. Jobs, I think, was possibly the one that comes up with different things. When you look at these things, working from home, and tips and how to become one and everything else, and we can dive into these. That might be quite unfair on my fellow designers to actually go through some of their stuff, although some of it will be marketing. You have to understand this. Marketing is a part of the job, but that's fine. What else do I need to do? We just do this there. Right, let's get cooking. So, as in the topic is, why do you want to become an interior decorator or interior designer? And I'll tell you why you do. Because you see it all as this. You see what I mean? So this is all about colors. That's what you see it as, and you see it all looking like this. And you see this down here. And that is just not in any way, shape or form kind of what happens. In fact, I should really see if I can find some interior design sort of videos for you that will actually do what they're, what they are. I was going to say what they're not, what they're supposed to do, but anything which is vaguely truthful, because there isn't much of it. And I understand why it isn't. And there are all these people on here are generally going to be very good, but they're not necessarily going to teach you what things are. So you kind of have to look, of course, of who's doing certain things. So Mr. Kate, it's a huge channel here. Self-taught interior designer. Can you do that? Yes, you can. We'll come on to that. That's a whole other thing. I've yet to find one that's really, really accurate. This is more of the same, decorating hacks. Decor your home like a pro. Everything here is teaching you something or trying to teach you something, but really it does come down to how am I going to put this? It does actually come down to whether this actually teaches you what you want to know, and whether you recognize the reality of interior design being what it actually, when it does come down to it, interior design is you're really working for somebody else, and you are putting other people's ideas along with yours into someone's home that they've got to live with and pay you money for. That really is it. You're providing a service. It's one of the biggest things which I have to tell people, and people can't get their heads around. It's a service. It's not you're doing a wonderful job and you're being creative. I would love to say that's true, but it's not. You can get a little bit of creative with a few things. Rental properties in particular. In fact, I'm gonna write things down as I go with this, because I think rental properties is a topic that we should talk about, because it's a really important one for you to do. You can do great things cutting your teeth on that. It matters less generally to the client. You're left on your own much of the time. It's a really good avenue to go down, especially to start doing stuff, to see whether you really actually enjoy it, because you might not really enjoy it. If you do not like managing people, this is not the job for you. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'm going to repeat it. If you do not like managing people and their expectations, this is not the job for you. If you want to be left alone, this is probably not the job for you. Am I left alone? Occasionally. Today, well, I've got my phone off today. I've turned my email off as well, so we're not disturbed. But yes, you're going to get all sorts of stuff coming through, sometimes at weekends. If you don't like weekend working, possibly not the job for you. This is what I mean. It's actually quite a difficult one to do. Who does it well? Let me try and think of somebody that does it well. Maybe YouTube isn't the right place for it. Oh God, it's me. So interior designer skills. Yeah. That's something which I spoke about. My hair long. It's quite shocking. This was hilarious. This is my first. You'll find this funny, even if I don't find it funny. This was my first diary. The editing is appalling, but this is what I mean. In fact, it might be quite a good one. We don't have to watch it, but I could probably show you a few things on this that might actually be handy. Don't need to do Quora. May need to do Pinterest. So this is me. This is my first diary thing, and this is me in one of the houses. As you can see, this isn't a wonderful thing. You can see all of the different things which are in the background. It's being built. You've got clearly that there's some kind of building work going on above, so it's noisy and everything else. And I'm showing you basically how it is. This is actually showing you what it is, and this is what some of the other, or most, if not all, of the interior designers don't really show you what's going on from their point of view and how it's all happening. And you really need to see these kinds of things, because this is really what it's like, rather than the here I am in a clean and tidy home just measuring. Maybe it's just me, but that's what I mean. I'm kind of fed up of people, shall we say, what's the best way of putting this, making out that an interior designer's job is a simple job. You could have like a pros and cons type of thing. In actual fact, so what I kind of want to do on this is talk about the pros and cons. The pros and cons. Self. Of projects, if this is your type of thing. It won't be everybody's type of thing. I think this is one of the this is a difficult one, really. I will add on more cons as I'm going. Jesus, I can't type today. Cons. Stressful. Messy. Little creativity. Or not as much as you would think. Long hours, odd, and working, meeting. The reason why I say about late night meetings is for the really obvious thing that it's people think that it's a 9 to 5 job, and it can be if you're going in to work for a firm. And that's what your allotted hours are. But invariably, you'll get clients who will say, I can't meet then. My husband's not home until 7 o'clock. Can we have a meeting then? Can we meet on a Saturday? All of that kind of stuff goes on. And I'm inclined to say you are going to have to do it rather than not do it. And I know that that's not going to help or please an awful lot of people, but that's kind of like how it is. You call the money shots. Work for yourself. And I think most people don't realize in some ways how these sorts of things can actually take your toll. You notice that I'm not saying that you're in all of your in all of these aspects. I'm not talking about fabric. I'm not talking about color. Pros, you in theory. You see a finished result. I think it's really good to go and really look at these pros and cons, because people don't talk about this. No one talks about this. And that for me is a definite no-no. In fact, to be honest, people don't really talk about this either. Anyway, so these are obviously the pros and cons that are of. Put that down to know. Or decorator, depending on how you want to word yourself. But you kind of have to look at it, those different things. We can go into this more in depth on another occasion. Today, obviously, was very much about welcoming you to the stream and to see exactly how things are going to work, what works and what doesn't, and what we're going to go on and do. If you want to come along for this type of a thing, this type of a stream, I will let you know. I will get some proper times in the diary of when I'm going to be streaming, and then we know when we're going to be streaming, and then we can get on with it and really go into depth. So I'll probably do some questions and answers next time, because I want to get through a few of those, and then we can do some design things, having a look at some other different general topics, and maybe have some fun and answer some questions, things on stream. So that's it for the moment. But goodbye for now, and I will see you very soon. Happy designing!